everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser podcast. Monday night, we are back in action as the trio is in place. I am fresh back. I'm your host, as always, Timuchin here in Chicago. Fresh back from Colorado, which was really fun. But there's a lot of lack of sleep, and I shared some crazy stories this morning. But yeah, it was a good time overall. Though. A lot of nice things to see, and the weather was not too shabby. I come over here raining like crazy, but today was a beautiful day, so I brought nice weather with me, and I brought Bickler with me. Bickler, what's happening?
You did bring me with you. That would have been a hell of a time. I am.
Yeah, that would be sometime.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, but I mean, sorry, Angie. But anyway, yeah, I am fresh back from my desk, which ironically is the same desk that I'm sitting at now. So that's no news here. I'm not even sure what it looks like outside today yet.
Sergi says, "Poor horse." That freaking Beth bitch. I told a long ass story this morning, so I won't bore you guys with it again. But yeah, see, life after Beth has an insider meaning, man. Yeah, maybe we'll get to it eventually. But yeah, we were riding.
I feel like I need the horse story. I'm sorry. Give me the bridge Cliff Note version. What happened with the horse?
So we get a horse ride right around the Garden of Gods. Which is, you can kind of like walk around it, but you can take the longer trail or whatever. So they put us in horses. It's like 6 at a time or whatever. And they even told us, hey, some of these horses don't get along. So they supposedly line up the horses way so that, the two of them that don't get along are not together or whatever. I'm already not great with height, so I'm not liking the fact that we're going all over the place with the horse. So there's a guy up front, it's 6 of us, and then there's somebody else from the farm again with us. So it's like a girl in the back with another horse. So we're going down this trail, and this is the cliff version, mind you. So we're going down that trail, and then you go up and down hills, all kinds of places, and it's pretty cool. But then these freaking horses, obviously they go to the trails all the time. You got to kind of control them. They don't like each other. They don't like them getting too close. Mine is constantly in Angie's horse's butts. Angie's horse is kind of like occasionally turning around. So I keep having to hold mine back. But somehow they put the horse behind me that my horse, Beth, does not like. So like every time I slow down, well, obviously we slow down. This is great. Angie's horse is happy. But mine is not, because the one behind us is getting close. You would think she would know better and stay behind, but no, she's like right on my butt, like we're bumper to bumper over here with with horses. So at one point, 5 minutes in, they kind of stop you. We will walk down this street, and then they stop you, make sure everything is tight and stuff. There, he made like a sound. I was telling Matush this morning, almost like an alarm sound. It was like. And I was like, whoa, what is happening? And they were like, oh, yeah, Beth doesn't like whatever the other horse is. And I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a good idea. Then why is he behind me? But whatever. So we're going, dude, I swear, like 3/4 of the way in, we're going down this hill over here. And something happened, like everybody stopped or slowed down. So everybody slows down. I stop because, everybody freaking stops. Somehow the chick behind me feels like, you know what? I'll keep going. I'll get as close as possible. Dude, my horse freaking Beth went apeshit. And I'm talking like legs up in the air, like a Turkish rodeo going over there, like just fucking like screaming. Everybody's turning around, like looking at me in horror. And I didn't know, but Bickler will appreciate this because he's a Red Dead Redemption guy. So the PlayStation experience kicked in. So I pressed L2 and like yanked him back, and I was like, whoa! And then we were up in the air. I had like my life flash in front of me.
Over there spamming the square, just over there spamming that square button to call him.
Yeah, I just want you to know, like there are so many parts of this that intrigue me. One, I need to know more about the relationship that you and Beth created, because you actually referred to her more times by name than you have Angie in the time I've been doing the pod with you. And two, I just love the idea of you not only being afraid of heights, but then it taking you like only about 18 inches higher and your life just flashing in front of your face. So, and I want to mention Stephen Cook's comment right here. The biggest question I had was, I don't know what a Turkish rodeo is, but it should be the name of this podcast. And we should probably get an update the next time we do a podcast. But we're probably supposed to talk about Liverpool. It's funny, you went to Colorado, had an experience with Beth that reminded you of a Turkish rodeo, and I went to Chicago and didn't get an experience with you that reminded me of a Turkish rodeo, which probably means I failed on my Chicago trip. But we will make that right. So what a way to kick off a podcast, and what a way to spend 5.5 minutes not talking about Liverpool, which should be the goal of the next hour.
Yeah, I mean, it was like me and Beth were like Klopp and Mo, if you will, if you want to get it analyzed that way. And I didn't know Turkish rodeo was a thing either until I was up in the air with Beth over there.
I feel like that's
that
just
like
slang for like traffic in Istanbul or something. Is that like, it feels like a slang term?
Yeah, but it was a good time overall. And you know what? That's the thing. Like, I get like motion. It's just weird that you're right, and they were like, "Oh, she's one of the smaller horses." But it's just weird when you're up in the air like that and you're not controlling the motion because you're going up in hills and the horses picking the specific spots to step and stuff like that. But yes, not riding a horse again anytime soon. But if you thought that was the best part of the podcast, you're wrong, dead wrong, because trivia is here to really cap it off over here, because we can't do without trivia. Sergi says, can we not talk about Salah? I finally calmed down. Well, we'll get right to that then. Let's get right to that then. But let's do the trivia first, because we will talk about this as well. It's becoming more and more and more likely. I don't think it is official yet, but with slots being the next guy up to pick fights with Mo on the touchline. So the question is going to be about him. I'm assuming you guys have done some homework. So where does he
I know
play?
how to spell his name.
What was that?
I said I know how to spell his name.
Do you guys know where he played for his playing career? What was that?
Zero. I know zero about what he did as a player.
Come on, I know you've done some homework, Bickler.
No, I read it. It's like anything in my life, is how much do I actually remember?
He was a midfielder. So he's going to get great.
What is it? They're the Dutch team. They're blue and what? I think it's the team that the what's the Sepp came from.
He was with Zwolle for a long time, and then he goes to Breda, Rotterdam.
Okay, Zwolle is who I was thinking. They're blue and white. Yeah, that's the team.
And then he comes back to Pek Zwolle and stuff like that. So 462 games. I'm a big believer that players who are not that great actually do even better as management. But 462 games, Gally. How many goals?
Oh. I have a feeling it's not many. It's usually when you have these types of questions, it's like zero.
9 games that we play.
I'm literally. He played 400 and something.
462 appearances he's had in his playing career.
I'm probably way off.
How many of those were starts?
I'm gonna say 9.
Okay, I only did limited homework over here, Bickler. So you're gonna have to roll with the number
of.
Well,
listen, then you're gonna get a limited answer because starts. That's important.
How many? Your answer
by a limit, we just need a number.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying,
from
if
0 to infinity.
Like if 413 of those were like Klopp subs, he's played 9 minutes. I mean, so that matters.
I mean, I didn't want you to break it down to like headers and right foot, left foot. We're just looking for a number of goals.
I would have gone 24 total.
Oh man, he was a scorer. Actually, this is pretty darn decent for a midfielder, I think. Gonna have to look at averages. 462 games, 100 goals.
Wow.
Oh wow.
That's
to be fair, early in like when he's playing for Zwolle, I think that's like one division down. Because he does go up twice with him, if I remember that right.
Damn, dude. 1 in every 4 is good for a midfielder, though.
Right? Because he played 164 and scored 50 of them over there. But I think it's still pretty darn good. So we got, if nothing else, if Nunez is not playing well, we can just put him in there and maybe he can just like slot one in. Did you guys see that? I didn't even mean to do that, but
you slot him in.
Oh, the bad jokes are going to fly around, baby.
They
I don't know if I-
basically,
I don't know if I
it's
can do
about
this
as
right.
easy as you need right now. If you need a slot joke, you can basically think of the slot machine. They've come up all trumps, sevens on the slots. Like it's all across the board.
We should have a bingo with possible possible lame jokes and headlines that they will come up
We
with
should
and
not.
that play throughout the
We probably shouldn't. We should probably let the guy be named manager first.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let's go with that though. I mean, it is looking more and more likely, obviously,
It's
because we're
done.
in the negotiations and stuff like that. It's 95% done. Let's go with that. Where are you guys with it? I see some ridiculous reactions all over the place that I think you would get regardless of who was coming in, unless Klopp was coming right back or something like that. Gally, like, where are you with that? Like the decision that has been made, the appointment that has been made.
I'm completely fine with it. So he was a name that was on major radars. Both Bayern Munich and Barca were interested before Xabi said he was going back to Barcelona. Bayern Munich were interested, I think, last year before they hired Tuchel, and were interested here. Tottenham tried to sign him. He turned all of them down, saying he was waiting for the right job at the right opportunity, and he wanted to stay where he was. He won that league. He won their League Cup. So he's proven that he can win things and that he can beat clubs that are bigger. Yeah. And he's developed talent everywhere he's been in his coaching career. And you made a comment earlier. You like coaches who weren't great players. And like, I'm 100% on board. Like, it's why like Larry Bird and Michael Jordan weren't good NBA coaches. They were just okay at times. Jordan was never good because it was so maniacal to him. Larry Bird was okay, but like things like that come too easy to great players. Like Messi will never be a coach because he doesn't have to be. Like that's what I believe. And I think there are guys like Arteta that show that you can be a better manager than you were a player if you really figure out your craft and you figure out how to make things work. I think it's why Gerrard didn't work as a manager at the top level. Things came easy to him because he had talent other players didn't have. And from all I read about this guy, his tactics are really good, his man management skills, and technically he believes in himself as a coach. And he doesn't want any more than that. And I think it's the most important thing is that he's coming in as coach and not manager. Because I think management has let him know we will run the club. You just coach these players on the field. And I think if he can come in and focus on that, it takes a lot of pressure off not being Jurgen Klopp. And I think that's the number one goal for anyone who took this job.
Yeah, because it's going to be a challenge either way, and nobody is going to be able to fill those shoes. I mean, they can win 3 titles in a row. In some eyes, they will never fill those shoes, right? Matthias says, like, on this, their name's Zidane. And I think, you know, obviously there's, like, a lot of examples of players that made it. But to me, Bickler, I don't know, I guess, you know, like...
You think Zidane... Do you guys think Zidane's an actual good coach? Because I think if he had to coach anywhere but Real Madrid with that team, he wouldn't have been anywhere near that successful that early in his career. In my opinion.
That's fair. I mean, but see, I always go back to there are a lot of people who go into those situations with great teams and they don't get the success. So he might have the right staff, or he might know, especially in a team like that, how to manage the people more than anything else, like more than maybe like the technical aspect of things.
I just find it funny he's never taken another job since because he's afraid it might tarnish what he did there.
Yeah, it's almost like doesn't want the streak to just disappear or something like that. I mean, my thing, Bickler, is sometimes it's almost like, you know, we talked about this before, like, you know, not every great full-timer makes a good manager kind of thing. Sometimes if things come very natural and easy to you, it's very difficult to explain to other people. Or, I mean... basically you just are not designed for it. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you can teach it. But where are you with the slot thing, and do you put any stock in like good player, bad player? Does it even matter?
I think the only comparison, and I think why that can be seen as sort of adjacent or making sense, is because I think some players get by on just sheer talent. You know what I mean? And I think maybe their football intelligence or their football IQ isn't as high as other players that maybe lack that just generational talent or huge ceiling that some of these players physically have, but I think on top of that, I think what it requires is that you're good at motivating people, right? And I think that players, especially this day and age, are motivated in a completely different way than maybe you could as an old school coach, right? And I think you have to have a lot more emotional intelligence now than you used to have if you're going to effectively manage squads. So for that, like for me, I have no problems with the signing. For me, it was like I didn't want a retread. I didn't want an English manager. I wanted a long-term. I wanted somebody who didn't see this as a 2-year stepping stone to another job.
Yeah.
And I don't get that vibe from him. I don't feel that from him. I think that he feels like Liverpool can be the pinnacle for him because, and thankfully, Jurgen took us to the top. So he's shown that he can do that, right? And so I also wanted a manager where philosophically it wasn't like night and day difference where they were going to have to do huge tactical changes in the way they played. And, he does there is a pressing. It's not quite as high or aggressive as Jurgen's, but he does a lot of the same things tactically. And he does seem to show some sort of tactical fluidity, which is something that I thought we didn't have enough of in the past. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm excited, I'm getting to the point where I'm just excited for a new chapter, right? I think this side needs a refresh in a way that has more to just do than just a summer break. I think there needs to be an injection of new ideas, and I think there needs to be an injection of new thought and new communication. And I think that he seems like a manager that has some charisma, which I think is important for this side, especially if you're going to come off of a manager like Klopp.
Yeah, Nick says for the majority of the squad to go from Klopp to Slot is a massive, massive adjustment. And I think it's always going to be, especially if somebody has been there for a long time, because it's not only like the boss is changing, but like the whole regime is changing. I guess more importantly than us caring or not, Gally, do you think the players care, or is it easier for a manager like a guy like, I don't know, like Pep or somebody like that, or Zidane? Is it easier for him to impose his will and manage an experienced squad, saying, because it's coming from a guy who's been there, done that? Or do you get more credit as a guy whose career is mainly management and not necessarily playing?
I guess my biggest thing is, I think what it comes down to is these players are on high wages and they want to win and they want to keep doing great. And if they're going to do that, they're going to listen to the manager that's in front of them and they're going to let him either succeed or fail on his merits, right? I don't think these players will actually – I kind of disagree with what Nick said about the credibility part, that Slot's achieved less than these players. Some of these players have won like a trophy or two. Slot is on his way up. Klopp won 2 Bundesligas that were amazing and got to a Champions League final. It wasn't like he was pulling up trees before he got to Liverpool and had become this world-class. He became the world-class name. People forget. He was the guy with really bad teeth and bad hair in Germany that just pissed in the Bayern Munich pool. That's who he was in Germany. Yeah. He was just a guy who upset. He was a disruptor of the force. It was at Liverpool that he created the Klopp aura. Everyone loved the guy, but it was rock and roll football that no one actually understood. Heavy metal football and all these bad cliches that didn't actually make any sense. I think the idea that we're already looking at this and saying players will have an issue. The players here have to step up and show that they can play for another manager. Because right now, what do we always hear? This team isn't as good as the results. It's all about Klopp. It's everything Klopp's done. If I'm Virgil van Dijk, I am excited about this opportunity. If I'm Ryan Gravenberch, I'm going to show people this wasn't just a rough first year. I'm going to be great under the next manager too. And I think that's how Gakpo and Diaz and many of these players look at it. Klopp has been amazing, but he's also had this shadow at the club that's allowed, in my opinion, I'll say it on me, not other people, fake plastic supporters who have made it about Klopp and not FSG or not the players or not the club or what they've done over the last 9 years. They've made it all about Jurgen Klopp. And I think he's been a transformational, wonderful manager. Maybe the second or third best manager to ever manage this club. And that's how great a club we are that we can question what Jurgen's done in 9 years. But this idea that the players aren't looking for a new challenge too, and aren't a little excited for new tactics and new formations, and maybe to see some of these players they don't think are as good as Jurgen thinks they are starting every match. Like, I think people are ready for the change. And I think when big clubs want big managers, there's probably a talent there. And the guy's been compared to some of the best managers in the world. And he manages on a really high level, and his points per match over Europe has been outstanding over the last 3 seasons. And I think people that are looking for excuses are just not ready to give up on the love affair they have with the guy that's been here for 9 years.
I think that's the thing. I mean, we've talked about this. I think we were talking about it last week in the morning show as well, like where everything good is somehow Klopp, everything bad is somebody else. Insert name here. It could be Linders. It could be. It's always like the players letting Klopp down and not, Klopp's tactics or anything like that. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for a guy like coming in like Slot, because he's going to be the problem now, regardless of what happens, because he's the new guy. Fair. One thing, though, is like Nick is talking about expectations. Slot is taking over a club that's been to, I understand the recent success, but at the same time, Bickler, this recent slump of the 2.0 version that started out really high and it was going to be 2.0 is just as good as the 1.0 and they're going to win a bunch of stuff. Is it only making Slot's job easier in some ways? Because instead of taking over a team that had just won the treble, for example, and then like the expectations are going to be higher because what's next? It's a quad, right? As opposed to him coming in now where like you can kind of tell that's, pieces are wearing down. You need some WD-40 or something like that to get things running smooth again.
Yeah, if you're asking me that us winning the treble and ending the year that way versus ending it the way we're now is going to adjust expectations going into the next year, yeah, for sure. And I think it definitely makes it easier, right? But I mean, we could talk. I think that's a larger discussion, right? Like whether this is the ending that this team. Ending's probably not the right word. Like whether finishing third is the level that this side deserves to finish at. I think that's a larger conversation. But the conversation regarding Slot, I think for him coming in, regardless of the expectation, I think it's an easier job to come into than when Jurgen did because he's got less parts to sort out. I mean, he's got some big things to sort out, but he's doing it from a position of strength, both financially and from a position of having Champions League secured to roll into that final year. Versus when Klopp came in, we were a mid-table team. He had pieces from all over the place. There wasn't really an established core leadership group that you're going to really met with and worked with. So I think he's got some different things to his advantage that Jurgen didn't have coming in. So I think, look, regardless of how you evaluate Slot versus Klopp, right? In terms of when we got Klopp in and when we got Slot in, I think the team and the club is in a much better position for a manager to come in than when Jurgen did. So overall, I think you've got to say it to some degree that does play a part in not only helping him come in, but probably why he's interested in the job to begin with, right? Is this guy, this up-and-coming riser in the Netherlands, even interested in this job if we're a mid-table team? Let's be honest,
Yeah, the new guy coming in is going to be under pressure regardless. Heck, any Liverpool manager is going to be under pressure regardless, and coming after Klopp, obviously, is even bigger pressure, bigger shoes to fill and stuff.
I'll answer this from Nick right here. Absolutely not. Early Champions League exit and pressure will be on him. Sluggish start to next season and will have pressure he's never experienced. I completely disagree. You know why? Edwards and these folks didn't come back in to run a volatile system. Do people not remember losing 3-0 to West Brom in Brendan Rodgers' first ever match at the club?
I don't think he'll be under I don't know if that was what Nick means, but I don't think he'll be under pressure like he'd be fired. But, pressure, probably more pressure and criticism from fans is what I'm guessing. Because, he's not going to go anywhere after 2 months. He's
replacing Jurgen Klopp. Pressure is always going to be on him. There was pressure on who replaced Pep at Barcelona. Pressure was going to be on him.
Yeah, I think if you're a manager coming in, you're not nervous about the fact you're playing Champions League and may get bounced early. You're nervous about coming in, after Jurgen Klopp, and then that you're not taking an interview,
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's why I think the fact that he wants to come and he wants to challenge is good. And you're probably right, Bickler, because it is a lot better opportunity and it's a lot more appetizing look than what Klopp walked into. But any manager, I mean, even before Klopp, whoever comes into a club like Liverpool is going to be under pressure. Obviously, this guy is going to be more under pressure. But I think what Nick is saying, and I do agree to that to a certain extent, because we have so, kind of like you were alluding to earlier, Gally, that everything is somehow Klopp, and we have people who are so kind of focused on that nobody else can do what Klopp does, or like it's all Klopp or none. I think from supporters like that, but he's gonna face pressure from them regardless of what he does. Those people that pressure is going to be built in, not necessarily because he exited the Champions League early or something like that.
I guess my point of it is I don't understand. This ownership group has proven that they will be resilient with managers. They've done it along the line. They gave Brandon Rodgers a lot of rope. And I understand they had to hire a guy that was probably well beyond his depth at the time. And then they hit a home run with Klopp. And it all worked out in Trump's, right? That's what happened. Like they played the card and it worked out. What I don't understand is all this, like, we're now Nick is, in our chat comments bringing up Ten Hag. This isn't about Ten Hag. This is about Slot being a manager who is working through his time. He's a manager who figured out a way to win that league and not either be at the two top clubs in PSV Eindhoven or be at Ajax. Like, he's not.
It's also like trying to compare. It's also like trying to compare Klopp to whoever's managing Bayern. Like,
well, that's
at the time.
my point.
I think the fact that they're both bald doesn't help the cause.
Yeah, probably. That's fair, and that's fair. His baldness may not be as good.
No other English club would have tapped this guy except for he got offered the Tottenham job last year when they actually were offering up higher wages than Pep makes.
Yeah, he turned Tottenham down.
And two, he is on Bayern's top list. You know why? He was the guy they wanted to replace after Guardiola left. And then, so now he wants to hire Ange. He'd rather the guy at Tottenham playing the high line that can't work.
Here's the thing. Like I say, we're going to be going back and forth with. There's going to be people like Nick. There's going to be other people who are not going to be happy with the hire. And they might have their own reasoning in terms of the league he's coming from and stuff. But I guess my thing is, in most cases, they're not going to be happy of whoever comes because they're following Klopp. And I think that's the situation. And obviously the Ten Hag thing was just like writing on the wall the moment it happened. I think it's more the boldness, like I say, and then coming from the league. But they are coming from different situations, like Gally was saying, where one of them is coming from the easier route in the Dutch league, whereas this guy is coming from the more challenging route in the Dutch league. So it would be like coming from the Bundesliga from Bayern or from Dortmund, kind of like what Klopp did. But so let me ask you guys this though, because we're gonna have to get to the more conversation, unfortunately, for Sergi and stuff. We're gonna have to talk about that as well. But I don't want to get into the too much. I mean, I don't even know if it's worth getting into it. I guess let me ask you then, Bickler, is it even worth getting into the tactics of the West Ham game now that the Champions League is there too? Do we want to really, is there something to look at a lot in terms of performances and, because the manager is leaving. Like you could say the last year, I was saying like Curtis Jones, right? We did the Curtis Jones thing. I mean, we're like, okay, let's take a look. It's a good time to say, here's 3 games, here's 4 games. Let's see what you got. But with the manager changing, I just feel like that's not even there now. What are we going to look at the next 3 games?
I really hope that he puts the strongest starting 11 that he thinks is his strongest starting 11 the rest of the year, because I don't think, I think a 9-year reign in the highs that we've reached, I don't think deserve for it to feel like a preseason run out, right? I think there are players that you deserve to be in this starting 11 as the strongest starting 11 that really go and like continue this momentum. Like, like it's that old saying that you're like a good season starts at the end of your last season, right? Like, I think you really need to kind of like try to finish out as strong as you can. Try to keep players like Diaz, Gakpo, Robertson, some of these players, Gravenberch. Like, I think you want to keep those players' momentums going in and finishing out that way. That's how I do it. I think there are players that obviously Slot's going to want to try to figure out. But that's what just the strongest starting 11, and I don't think we really need to talk tactics. I think if you're going to ask Jurgen Klopp about tactics at all and just say what's happened wrong, he's going to say we didn't defend well enough as a team, right? Yeah. And like that's what he's going to say. Part of that's a stock answer. Part of that's true. Part of it is you just didn't go get a like marquee number 6 like we've always had. So yeah.
No, I hear you. I mean, it's for you, Gally. I mean, yeah, I agree with Bickler in terms of, I don't know, like how much to dig into tactics and say, because there's not much to look forward to and see what's going to change or anything like that. Because obviously it's going to be a similar yet different system and probably similar but different squad. I mean, we talked about, some of the people that are maybe be considered main people in this team might not be here next year and stuff. But looking at the last 3 games and stuff like that, what are you going to be looking at? I mean, do you think, we go with the starting 11, or do you prefer to have Gravenberch out there, have Elliott out there, and see what we get with him? Or do we even see anything because they're going to play in a different system next year anyway?
Yeah, I think they are going to play in a different system. If Jurgen loves this club as much as he does, then he probably starts Harvey Elliott and Gravenberch the rest of the way just to give them minutes that they probably have started to
that's what I was going to ask you.
Okay. Like, that's in my opinion. If he loves this club, he wants to help them. He wants to help Arne Slot see everything he can about the talent in this squad over the last 3 matches. And I think he uses emotional intelligence to know which ones need to play when. And by that, I mean, we're going to talk about Mo. I expect Mo to be the starting right wing against Tottenham because he got 2 games left at Anfield, no matter what David Ornstein talked about today. We'll talk about that in a little bit. He's got 2 games left at Anfield, and we're going to let the crowd sing to him and let him have opportunities to score goals in front of it. If that changes, I'll be happy and excited. I don't expect it will. But I think Harvey Elliott has to start in the midfield. I think Gravenberch has to start in the midfield. I don't know that we need to see much more of Endo starting this year. He could start maybe one of the last 3 because I think he does look tired and worn down. And I think he's a 31-year-old who will probably play a different role if he's still here next year at the club. I think there are going to be big changes. And I think a lot of the players that need to kind of show themselves in the next few weeks may get a chance. My biggest fear is the guy who probably needs to show the most won't, and that's Kanate, because I'm not sure he's going to see another minute on the pitch.
See, here's the thing, though, like, and this is like, what I want to get to. If you're Slot, I mean, you're not really, it's not like you're like, oh, I'm the Liverpool manager now. Well, let me turn him on then and see who plays there. He probably knows the team, Bickler, and he knows the players. I don't know if he's going to see anything in these last 3 games in terms of like from a player that like, oh, I didn't know he could do that. But is it a good chance for a manager to see mentality more than anything else of these guys going out there and playing, how they finish the season, how they play when there is necessarily nothing to play for, see more personality? Because all the other stuff, you can put the footage on and see what Robertson does. But are you more looking at more like mental things maybe if you're Slot?
Personally, I'm not. I know that a lot of people are a fan of that. I'm not, because then I'm evaluating a player in a culture that I didn't create. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's fair.
I mean, I do want to see some of this stuff, but like, if I'm being honest, I'm bullish on the Mo behavior. I know that's going to send like Cersei off the edge, but like, I want to see a player pissed off that he's on the bench. Like, yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think you can see that. All right. I think you can break down game. They're going to be loads of game tape he's going to break down and look at and all that stuff. But, I was thinking about this I was taking a walk earlier and I was thinking about this. And I was like, man, if I'm Klopp, I just send him that lineup app. And all right, buddy, fill out the lineup app. Let's see what happens. Like,
screenshot it and send it back.
Yeah. until he sees
And
a
the best
4-2
part-
until he sees a 4-2-3-1 and has to send it back. It's like,
I was just gonna say until he figures out that Carvalho's at Hull City, and
Yeah.
you're not allowed to start the most informed attacker at Liverpool playing in the Championship.
Yeah, I mean I know what you're saying, Baker, and I can kind of see the aspect of that. But as a fan, I'm definitely looking at that, and I would think Slot will look at that as well in terms of how players react to the current situation, from anywhere from Mo to Diaz to Nunez and stuff like that. But that's gonna be. That's what I'm going to be mostly looking for.
I think what I really want to see is I want to see these players that we're not sure how they're going to fit. Right? Like, like in terms of like, we haven't been sure how they're going to fit Liverpool, right? Like Darwin and like what's Harvey's actual role? What's Soboslai's actual role? Like these kind of players that we've had, and we've, like we've got McAllister is skated by on just sheer fucking talent. Like we still don't, I still don't think we know where we want to play him. Like truly. Like, so I'd like to see some of these things. I mean, a lot of this stuff we're not going to see until it comes out of the wash after we kind of get, into a month or two into next year and start really seeing this team sort of like gel in a new system, right? But I think that's kind of the things that I'm curious about, especially these newer, some of these newer buys that I think are starting. Like, I'm really bullish on what Gakpo is doing right now. I'm really I think that, I've been praying for this season to end like everybody else. I think he's probably one of the few of us that aren't, you know what I mean? Because he's starting to kind of put it together. So I'm curious with a couple of those guys for sure.
Yeah, probably he'd rather be playing than being at home and like having to wake up to the crying baby. So there's also that. But so
he's only a few years off from a family trip on a horse somewhere in Colorado.
Yeah, and it won't end good. Let me tell you, Beth is a mean bitch on the trail. That Beth.
Hey, I'll tell you who had a great time, and it's Angie. She had a great time. Angie and Beth had the best time in that ride than anybody else, but not me. But
I'm pretty sure Angie slipped Beth some hay before the thing. Like, listen, buddy, you do a good job. I got a stack at the end of this trail for you.
I was telling Matush, I mean, we laughed for hours afterwards, but my laughing started once it was over. She was laughing pretty much throughout, so she got more bang for her buck over there. But that's the problem I'm probably having, because I do want to see things. Gakpo is a great name, like Gravenberch and stuff like that. But the bad thing is, whatever I see, I'm not going to be able to walk away with anything at the end, is what I feel. Like if I see Gakpo out there, they're like, there we go. I'm still not going to know what's going to happen next year. So I don't know how much.
None of us are going to know anything until legitimately mid-September to late September.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, even not, exactly. Not even preseason and stuff. I guess maybe in some ways the squad changes and who we move and who we keep and stuff like that will give us some idea, but you're not going to know until we know. So obviously a lot of it has been talked about, but real quick, let's do cliff notes of what we think and how we look at, because I read a lot of craziness online. Gally, let's start with you. The whole Mo versus Klopp ordeal, where do you stand on it? Like, what is your conclusion?
So first and foremost, I do not mind when players and managers have spats, whether it's in public or in private.
Happens all the time.
But when they're in public, I do think there is context that comes with them. And I will say this, I made the comment in Discord, in our chat, before any of this shit popped off, and I was like, he does not look happy to be warming up right now. He didn't even have his jersey on. Pep Linders was trying to call him over to give him direction. He wouldn't even walk over to him. And I was like, this doesn't look good. And I said it. And then minutes later, my TV has a seizure. And I've spent a shit ton of money on this TV, people, for Peter Drury to apologize to me that I didn't see the one thing this season I needed to see live. Okay? So I'm on YouTube trying to roll things back and find different things. I don't mind post-match disagreements. I don't even mind when a player gets subbed off and is pissed off they're coming off. I think when a player is ready to get up in his manager's ass with 4 games to go in that manager's career, a manager who has helped make him a big time world time star, and he's ready to get to the point where he will. The manager who has a huge ego, let's be honest, Jurgen's ego is only bigger than his teeth, and he walks away from him, and Mo goes at him to continue the argument. It's a really bad look because it means there's more than just a guy who didn't like being asked if he was ready to go. You know why he was asked if he was ready to go? They asked him to go in 10 minutes earlier, and he wasn't ready to go. So the manager said, "Are you ready to go in there?" And he got up in his ass. He had just he had already pushed him off once. It's a really bad look. I think it's bad for Mo because I'm with Paul, and I think there's 3 weeks left in Mo's Liverpool career, in my opinion. And this is a terrible way to go out because let me tell you this. When Mo Salah and Jurgen Klopp leave, unfortunately, for a lot of different reasons we don't need to get into today, more people are going to love Jurgen Klopp than they will love Mo Salah, even though he scored all the goals and really made the Jurgen Klopp era here really special. And it's unfortunate for him. I wish he hadn't done it. And his comment after the game didn't help anything.
Bickler, what's your verdict and conclusion?
I'm not nearly as bothered by this as most people because
I think we're good. Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's just look at. Let's just have. I mean, just look. Let's have some perspective, right? We were talking about a quad a month ago, right? The season's imploded. He's had the worst form of his career and never really come back from this injury. You have two of the dudes. I think we can agree that if you're going to ask what's responsible for the Liverpool turnaround, it's Klopp 1A and Salah 1B, right? So You've got two of the guys that are like, can you imagine a time where Jurgen and Mo have collectively been more frustrated? Probably not. No. Yeah. Right. So like, I'm okay with the striker. I think it's petulant. I understand where Mo's coming from though. And I think furthermore, Jurgen knows where Mo is coming from before he even engages with him, which is my problem because this starts by Klopp saying something to Mo when he knows where Mo's head is at, right? He knows he's getting a response he's not going to like from Mo. So I think this comes into that emotional intelligence thing as a manager, right? You have to know what you're dealing with. Like I personally would have stuttered Mo in this match anyway. I think what you're doing by sitting Mo, I think the narrative that you're putting out there is that Mo is the primary reason that you guys aren't winning games and scoring goals right now. And I think that's a little bit of a reckless narrative to put out there. And I think that Mo probably thought he did a little bit dirty, you know? So like, I understand where the frustration's coming. It doesn't really bother me. Was it a great look for anybody? No, but neither is any of the other shit happening right now. None of it looks good, man. And like, the funny thing is this is the same stadium that James Milner did this, like same thing, got into a big spat with Klopp, and then we scored and they hugged it out. Like, right?
And that's why I think it's the context that makes a huge difference. Because if we're winning right now, this is just like, oh, it's just Mo being Mo. He wants to score. They're competitive people and stuff like that. I think the fact that we're in a poor run, he's in a poor run, obviously there's a lot of frustration. My biggest thing is, I think if Klopp is not done in 4 games, I don't think that's how Klopp is handling the situation either. This is more of a short term. I already put in my 2 weeks notice. So now I'm going to say whatever the fuck is on my mind.
For both of them. They're both like, I'm probably not going to be here. You're probably not going to be here.
Long term.
like, you know.
I have questioned all year long Jurgen Klopp making the announcement when he did. I said it wasn't a good idea then. I would have let the media leaked it, and then I would have dealt with it at that point. Because ultimately, he brought all this pressure and put all this extra stress on all these players to make every game a final from the moment he decided to once again make it about him. Same way he did at Dortmund when he decided to leave and made it all about him and did the whole, like, we're not going to get relegated on my watch. I'll get out of here first and step down.
But I think that's why the whole Klopp, I mean, I don't understand why Mo is getting all the hate. Because I look at that situation And you gotta know, it goes back to the man manager thing, and we know he's a great man manager, right? That's supposed to be one of his best qualities. If you know your players, and I mean, I was telling Matthias earlier, if you have like a significant other, your best buddy, whatever, somebody on the team that you're playing with, there are certain people that if they're in a certain mode, you don't fuck with them right now. And you don't
it's
go
like
fuck with them right now.
It's like when my kid is pissed off about like having to go do something and I'm making him go do something he doesn't want to do. We're walking out the car. I'm not being like, dude, pull your pants up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like just happy he's getting in the car and we're going to get through this. Right.
And I think that's why, because he gives him the cold shoulder, right? Just take the cold shoulder and move on. But no, he kind of like eggs it on more. Klopp is the one that really instigates that afterwards and says something back to him that he did not necessarily have to say. I'm not excusing Mo's reaction.
He wasn't
how
ready.
Gets Mo the entire blame is beyond me.
Because if you believe reports, he wasn't ready to go in on the 60-minute mark when they asked him to come in. It was 10 minutes later that he put his jersey on.
I think 90%
they told
of the people
him to
that are
go in the
supporting...
game.
Yeah, I guess maybe because I'm not buying those reports.
Well, he walks right back up. You see it. If you see the other lineups, he walks up to him, talks to him. He pushes them away once. Klopp goes over and talks to Nunez and Gomez, then tries to just have a quick combo with Mo, do a fake hand slap. And I understand you guys can say, like, it's not his job. His job is to be prepared to play when the manager tells him to play. He's
there. He's ready to play. He's ready to go in. He doesn't have to hug you to go in.
He made 9. He had 9 touches, lost the ball 3 times. I'd say he wasn't ready to play.
Yeah, I think that's just not fair. That's not. He went in after that interaction you put him in, not just put him in. And we don't know. I almost feel like there is more to it. And I think his post-match comments kind of say that there was another conversation or there's other thing going on where he says, if I say something, he'll be fired. I think he just means like, I don't want to fuel the fires. I think what he's trying to say, which is fine by me. I don't understand why that was such a big deal.
Yeah, I think it just came out a little Game of Thrones-ish.
I just find it funny. I just look at it like he's a player at this club. That guy's the manager. You have 4 games left. You've played pretty poorly based on injury, based on form, whatever it is. You shouldn't be taking as much blame as you are, but you also got a shit ton of credit forever on all these other things. Like, to me, this is what it comes with being a professional athlete. He showed up a manager walking into a game and then didn't exactly put in the best performance, even though he only had 15 minutes to do it. And I think he should have started too, by the way. I thought he would start all week long. It made no sense. You let a player like that. I said it in the pre-match and I said it in the post-match. I just don't understand. We criticized him and Mane for their actions at each other, at times being petulant. This to me felt like an opportunity where there was no reason for that. And then the comments after the match, to your point, make me think there is something bigger, which makes me think there was a conversation between the player and the manager that the player didn't appreciate the way the manager handled it.
Yeah.
But his job's still to go out there and be ready to get out
there.
But I also think
hug you and kiss you on the way in.
But also, let's face it, like Mo is not the most like emotionally resilient person. Do you remember what Mourinho did to him at Chelsea?
100%.
Like he's not like he
broke him.
And this is back to that like emotional intelligence thing in managing. Certain people are motivated differently. Like Mo is not the guy that you're going to sit and get a fiery reaction and come out and he's going to crush it. He's not that dude. You're going to just basically what you've done is just killed the self-esteem and he's going to be so mad he's going to shut down. That's what Mo does. He shuts down. Like I
said, it's just context.
Years old.
Hendo has done this. Milner has done this. Mo has done
it.
When has Mo ever walked off the pitch as he's being subbed out in a good mood? He's always been this dude.
I've never seen one of those guys you're talking about ever do anything coming on the pitch. And that is different, whether you like it or not. He didn't leave the pitch angry. If Mo leaves the pitch angry, I'm saying that's the guy I want.
But I think at Mo, at the end of the day, it's the same thing, Gally. It's the same thing. It's him not playing. Yeah, it's him not playing.
That's selfishness. That's not about I'm better than this team. And I'm not disagreeing with you, Paul, but I'm saying that to me is the difference. When you do it walking off the pitch, and to be fair, when Henderson did it and got subbed off, Klopp dragged him in the media and said, "My captain can't talk to me that way coming off the pitch." And what did Henderson do? He went to the media and apologized. In this instance, a player came on the pitch in a pissed off mood with a chance to go win the match. And if you're the legend of the club, you go win it. You score the
Why
winner.
is
You know
your
what you
manager trying to almost get a reaction out of you? That's what I'm not excusing what Mo is doing. And it's definitely not a good look. I understand all that.
Yeah.
But why is nobody looking at what Klopp did? Because
I think he honestly
after the freaking take the fucking cold shoulder and move on. Let the guy go out there, talk about it after the game and say, you don't give me a freaking cold shoulder, but don't make a scene over there to a guy going into a game to win you the game.
See, I'm sorry. I've seen 3 different videos which show Klopp coming up in like the same normal everything. And Mo literally pointing at him from behind. And this isn't the one from TV angles in America. Pointing from behind saying, "Get away from me. I don't want to talk to you." And maybe Klopp shouldn't try to get a hug, but he's Jurgen Klopp. He takes a hug every chance he can get. For all I know, he might have leaned in and said, give a hug and say, "Go win this fucker for us. Prove me wrong." Whatever he was saying, Mo had none of it. Mo was done. If I were Klopp, when he did that, I would have sat his fucking ass on the bench. I would have told him to sit down. I wouldn't have sent him in. I would have left Diaz out there. Because you know what? Diaz gave us more in the 80 minutes.
I don't care about the performance afterwards. When you shit on a guy and send him out there, I mean, don't expect much after that.
I don't think he shit on him. That's the difference. You think he shit on Mo. I think Mo Salah shit on himself.
This happens 6 months from now.
If this was Bruno Fernandes, we'd be killing him. If this was Bruno Fernandes, we'd be killing him.
No. What I'm saying is, if Slot does this to Mo 6 months from now, everybody would be like, "Oh, he doesn't know how to manage like a big name player and stuff like that." That's what I get into. I mean, don't you think, Bickler? This is basically because it's Klopp, and more importantly, I think because Klopp is leaving. Everybody is like,
I think it's the 2 most important people in Liverpool's history having a disagreement in the most frustrating part of the season.
And which is why I feel like it sucks, because it's like such a freaking, it's already sucks that, the whole season is ending this way. The drama to go with it just makes it worse. I guess maybe, we were talking about earlier in terms of like what to watch for. Maybe do we watch to see, Gally, if they somehow put a more positive spin and end to the drama so we don't leave with this bad taste in our mouth? Because I do agree with you that I don't think Mo is here next year.
They already did. Mo Salah walked to the frickin' press room and said, "If I talk today, it will be fire," and has said nothing since. Jurgen Klopp said, "I called Mo Salah in and it's all settled. We're good." One guy took the high road.
Yeah, but who's buying that?
Well, but
I mean, don't we have to visually see it? I'm saying. I mean, obviously they're going to see that.
He's going to start against Spurs. That's all that matters. Like, we know he's going to start against Spurs. This is what Klopp does. Like, I do believe, like, Klopp knew, I'm going to start him. It's not like it's over. And I'm going to put this away from me. I don't want this. But that's where I have the problem with it. One guy did take the high road. Like, I understand you guys think Klopp went at him, and we can disagree on what
do you think was so bad about what Mo said? Just out of curiosity.
It's not actually what he said. It's how he acted on the sideline, and the fact that the manager turned his back, walked away, and
no, he's saying like afterwards. You said one of them took the high road, the other one. I think that's what he's asking about.
But because their actions are what we're judging them on, and then their reaction to those actions is what is fact. One guy said, maybe, I wasn't great there. Maybe I was too aggressive. Maybe I should have left him alone as he was coming in. He was pissed off. I'm going to say we're all good. We called it in. It's all good. The other guy made sure he made it clear that there was a problem. Didn't, cheer on the supporter, road fans, but neither did half the other team, because that's a whole nother conversation, because the captain doesn't take people to the supporters when we lose anymore. But ultimately, I genuinely believe there is a real rift there. I think if you guys think this is all
I think
over,
we're judging two people way too close to the event. I think these media people know exactly what they're doing when they come right after the game, knowing that there's still emotions
it's their
involved.
job.
I know,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
right. But like I have no problem with Mo saying like I can't talk right now, or it's like one of the guys at the Anfield Rap made a good point where we don't know. He might have been inferring too that if I say something, you're going to take it and make it something it isn't.
I thought like he said like it will fuel the fire, and I think I thought that's why he used that word. Maybe I'm giving
he's had 2 days to make a comment. One guy made a comment.
But this isn't a player. Like that's the thing. Mo is not somebody that normally talks to the media. He doesn't typically do those things. He said he made the one big thing when he hit 30 goals his first year, and when he said I'll talk when I win Champions League. But he's not the guy that comes out and typically engages in this stuff.
And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't give a damn if he, I don't personally care as a fan. I understand, it probably looks better, Gally, like appearances wise, it looks better. But I personally don't care. I want him to come out the next game and make it right. Him posting on Instagram a photo of him hugging Klopp 6 years ago and saying, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't care less. Like, that's not going to mean anything to me.
I think the thing that bothers me about this is it feels like another variation of when things go right, we credit Klopp, and when things don't go right, we blame the player. Right? Yeah, this feels like a variation of that, where I think that both of them essentially were in the wrong, and we're choosing to side with against the one who's frustrated us for the better half of a month and a half with a lack.
And I feel like I'm in that spot. I feel like I'm the opposite, only because Paul, and I respect your opinion, Paul, and I actually think it's a valid comment. I feel like in this instance, this is the opposite. I feel like in this instance, we're actually siding with a player. If this, like I said before, if this were Bruno Fernandes and Eric Ten Hag, it would be a different conversation on our Premier League show, because it would be a petulant captain who doesn't understand his players.
Bear in mind, I think Paul and I are in the very, very small minority.
No, I know you are. I'm giving you where
most people are blaming Mo.
And I'm not even saying Mo's 100% in the wrong, like he can't have any merit. I think there was a real reason to be angry with Jurgen Klopp.
Make the pie. The pie, Gally. Make the pie.
The way he did it on the pitch is absolutely wrong. And it would be wrong at any level of player. And if he had done it coming off the pitch, I could somewhat see it. But going on in a game where you are still, by statistics, in a title race, that is selfish at a new level. You're the best player at the club. If you're so pissed off you were sitting on the bench and could have won it from the start, go in and win it. Your manager says, are you ready? And you push him away and then come at him when he walks away. It's a bad look. It would be a bad look for every club in this country. And I think we are looking at it differently because of who it is and the manager's leaving. And most importantly, that we all think that he's probably leaving. I just feel like it's such a bad look for everybody. And I think Mo could have just avoided it. And I think he got caught up in emotion, which is why I love him. And I'm an emotional.
I think that's the concept. I think you're speaking for the majority. Like I say, you're speaking for the majority. I just feel I think Bickler are the minority here. And I'm not excusing, and I don't think Paul is either. That Mo overreacted. But I just feel like the pie that's been passed around, the slices are very disproportionate for me. And I think that's only because it's Klopp, and anybody else would be totally different. And yeah, because going on, I think you have a point there to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, the guy wants to be out there and making a difference. And his poor form should not be judged in what's happening here. I think he's going to be frustrated. He's been there before, obviously. And that's why I hope the end of the season is a lot more positive, because God forbids if it goes like this, the frustration is going to get more and more and more. So before we go on that note, Tottenham, 3 months ago, I was seeing this as, it's going to be a revenge game after the last game and stuff. But we're in totally different scenarios now. 2 months ago, I was like, hey, we have an edge on this game because of what happened in the first game and stuff like that. But obviously, that's not the case anymore. Early predictions in terms of, I think lineup is a shot in the dark. I think we're both assuming like the ideal starting 11 in terms of Klopp's eyes. But what do you expect to see, Bickler?
Well, I'll say, oh God, I hate this. I'll say we'll squeak one out 2-1, which would require us to score more than once. I say we concede once because we haven't kept a clean sheet since the 2nd of March.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's almost like a given, especially against that. Cersei says Simush is special, but he's not seeing who to. What do you have, Gally?
I got 2-2. I don't feel good about this. They can score goals and we can be had. And I don't really feel good about the way we're playing right now going forward and the cohesiveness of this team and the side. And I have no idea what he'll do with the lineup. So I'm going to say 2-2. We know we're in Champions League, which means we could see craziness ensue, literally, in lineups and substitution patterns. Because I won't put it past Klopp to reward the kids who played so damn good, who almost got them close. I think there might be some real strange lineup things. I think we'll see Simicast start another match. I think we'll see Gomez play 2 of the last 3, to be honest, on the left or the right. Like, I think we're going to see some rotation here.
Yeah, that's a chat to be had on there, actually, because, that's something to talk about is did we kind of, because I know like it came up in a couple of podcasts before in terms of, did we bring the experienced guys from injury too soon or did they come too late or whatever? Maybe we should have.
So at least, now we know what it takes to get Klopp to rotate.
There you go. There you go.
You see that stat?
His last 3 games.
It's something crazy. Like Joe Gomez, while he's on the pitch, they've conceded 8 goals in his last 35 appearances for Liverpool in the league.
It's kind of weird.
Maybe he should have kept playing.
Yeah,
at right and left back and center back at times,
and defensive midfield, everywhere that he freaking played. Yeah, I'm actually. You know what? I'm gonna go with a crazy prediction over here. 4-2, Mo hat trick. How about them apples? And if this shit happens, I don't know.
You better hope Mo's not in like halfway to the Maldives by now.
Yeah, well, but I think we're all in agreement that Mo will start, and that will kind of like be more of the sign that, I'll go in the Maldives and ride my horse on the beach.
We don't have to worry. We don't have to worry because David Ornstein told us today, Mo's going to be back next year, people. Get used to this. This is what we're getting. We'll talk about that next week or maybe in 8 weeks when Houston has to deal with it.
I was saying it earlier, too. The worst thing about this season and this way it's ending is all this talk is starting way too early. I usually can only bear it for like a month and a half, like from end of June.
Like waiting for the kit releases, the kit leaks. Do you think this purple kit's really gonna be
transfer rumor? No. Yeah.
No, they're not gonna put yellow stripes on the shirt. Oh fuck! They put yellow stripes on the shirt.
I'd rather talk about the stripes and which brand is better. But no, unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about transfers and all that kind of crap way too early for my liking. But it is what it is. I think, Bickler, I think you were saying it's in Discord earlier this week. But yeah, first time in a long time where I just want the season to be over with. I didn't even have that feeling last year, to be honest with you, because I felt like I wanted to see certain things moving on for next year. I feel like there's not much to see like we talked about earlier. But hey, at least let's beat Tottenham 4-1 and make me right on one goddamn thing this year with a Mo hat trick, and we'll go with that. But as always, thanks a lot for those commenting, liking, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Tune in Wednesday morning. We'll be back with the morning coffee show and then all kinds of programming going on throughout. Obviously, we're going to continue, and actually, we will be doing a lot of like Euro content that we're working on right now. So at least we'll be watching some other soccer and talk about that instead of maybe transfer. I'm doing anything and everything, people, to not talk about transfers. But have an excellent week, everybody, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.